Hello and welcome to another wonderful interview with BWS for our Awareness Day. So I'm Bree, I am the co-host, and Honey is the founder of BWS Awareness Day page. And then here we have Crystal, who she also has her own page as well that you can follow called BWS Never Alone. But Crystal, how are you today? And tell us just a little bit about your BWS journey.
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. BWS journey is probably a little bit different than most. I, when my second daughter was born, was the first time I had ever heard about BWS. Shortly after she was born, she was diagnosed, and they wanted to learn a little bit more about our specific type of BWS. So they pulled DNA on my husband and myself, and I found out that I also have BWS. Um,
Oh, wow,
so
yes.
I found out after the fact. So I was like 30 something. I think it was like 34 or something when I was diagnosed. Um, so it was definitely a different experience than what I've heard from others. Um,
Right.
it was in some ways very overwhelming with my daughter initially, but then when I found out I had it, I kind of had mixed feelings. I was kind of like, oh, okay, so there was a lot of things that kind of were like aha moments, like, oh, this makes sense for my childhood, or this makes sense. Um, but there were other things that were like, worrisome. So it was kind of like a little,
Right.
a little
Yes.
emotional battle, sort of. So in many ways, though, it was like a relief because I was like, well, for the most part, I'm a pretty healthy adult. And so I was like, that makes me feel good. Like I feel like I live a pretty normal lifestyle. So I felt like that was kind of a relief in that aspect. So
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
I could see how that would be both like, I mean, it's like when your kid gets diagnosed and then they're like, oh, you also have this. It's like, wait a second. I'm like in my 30s. How did this not get caught before then? But
yeah,
also, whoa, identity shift. Kind of like a little bit of that too. So, yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Um, it was kind of a little bit validating too because I had like kind of minor medical things that I felt like, where they're kind of I thought unrelated.
yeah.
And then when I found out, I'm like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. I had like kidney stones and I had one liver. Um, I'm sorry, not one liver. A kidney that was bigger than the other. Sorry, I
Yeah.
said.
Yes.
um,
You're good.
and then my liver was enlarged when I was younger. So I remember that. But I didn't know anything about BWS. I also had to have multiple things with my mouth, like 8 teeth removed at the same time, and jaw surgery and things like that. So it like made all that stuff make
Right.
sense and put it all under one umbrella instead of just being like you have all these weird things going on that are totally not connected at all or related. Um,
Right.
so that was good in a
Kind of
way.
connected
Yeah,
the dots there. That's
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh. And then so tell us a little bit about your two daughters, their journey too, if you would like to share.
Yeah, so when Emma was born, like I said, it was the first time we had heard about BWS. We were like, I remember when she was first born, when she first came out and everything, they said that, that she was hypoglycemic. And I was like, okay, like I didn't know that that could happen to babies. So that was the first time I had ever heard of that with a baby. I've heard of it with like teens and stuff. So that I was kind of surprised by that. But they were identifying like, they said that her tongue was enlarged. They had mentioned that she had low tone, but I didn't know they were talking about her muscles. I thought they were talking about her skin tone, like she's pale, and I'm like, well, I'm pale, so that makes sense.
Yes,
I
right.
didn't know the significance of what they were saying. So anyway, long story short, she's doing really like she's very healthy, doing really well right now. She's just turned 7,
Wow.
about less than a year ago, obviously, but her screenings now are almost almost done. For
That's
most people,
great.
at 7 it stops, but because we have the specific CDKN1C variant, screenings for that group continues until the age of 10. but it's only once every 6 months from 7 to 10. So
Okay.
so that was kind of, like a huge relief not having to go as frequent,
Right.
especially for her because she's older now. So, but just knowing that we made it this far without anything significant happening. We did have a scare for a while. She had a cyst and it continued to grow. And right around the time they were talking about removing it if it had continued to grow. Um, Literally, like the very next time we went in for our very next screening, it was gone.
Oh,
So we
wow.
were
That's
so
good.
relieved because we were, at the point where we were talking about potentially surgery, and then it just
Yeah.
disappeared. I guess it was kind of in a bad location. It was like on a pole. Um, so that's what they were worried about. Um, my other daughter, Ruby, I feel like her symptoms are a little bit more mild than Emma. They're definitely still present. Her tongue is still enlarged. It's more long than it is wide.
Hmm.
Um, and at this point, we don't have to have a tongue reduction. My daughter Emma, we did have to have a tongue reduction. Um,
Hmm.
and we did that at the age of 3. Um, Before that, prior to that, um, her teeth alignment and everything was looking pretty accurate. And at that
Right.
point, when she was sleeping, all of a sudden she started really showing signs of apnea and things like that. So we wound up taking her back and getting reevaluated. Um, and because of my history having to have the jaw surgery and everything,
Right.
we
Right.
decided it was the best thing for us to do. Um, so at this point, my younger daughter, Ruby, um, it doesn't look like we're going to have to do a tongue reduction, which is awesome.
That's great.
I am really thankful she doesn't have any sleep apnea that I'm aware of any kind. Emma had 2 different central and obstructive apnea, and she was on a CPAP for like 3 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was pretty significant at the time. So we
Hmm.
graduated off that this past year,
Oh,
and then graduated.
congratulations.
Yeah, it's huge. So it's been really positive things for us. It seems like the longer I'm part of this community and hearing people's stories and stuff, um, the I don't know how to explain it. Like
I
the
think I know
more
exactly. Yeah. The more
like
stories we've that are similar, maybe is that where you're going?
yeah,
Or like,
yeah. And then
yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Like I love the feeling of being in the community, and I think it is really important to share your story. I'm happy to share if anybody has any specific questions. I feel like I've had 2 totally different experiences with my 2 kids
right.
with Beckwith, which is, I, I mean, I kind of can feel like I relate to a lot of people's stories because
Yes.
I have my own journey and then I have 2 different kids, and none of the 3 of us have experienced the same things, which is, I guess, why initially I think it was Becker-Cleveland syndrome and now it's spectrum. I feel like that makes
Right.
more sense to me because I do see that it's different and displays differently, even in my own family. So
Yes.
um, I think that's pretty
Oh,
cool. That
that
yeah,
yeah, that is. I was just gonna, man, while you were talking, you taught me a lot of different things. I hadn't heard of the variant where you've got to go for longer scans yet, and I'm trying to remember back to when I know I didn't stop at 7,
right.
big, but I was born in 88, and so I think I remember mine going even up to 12.
Yeah,
So I know like research is a lot. So that's awesome that they have more research to have it be specific to each variant. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
if
I didn't
anyone,
know either until
yeah.
the last conference, and I also learned.
Oh,
I guess it was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago now. I went to a conference in Miami, and that one I learned about there being a direct uh, link between the CDKN1C and also a heart condition called long QT.
oh,
So
okay.
prior to that, we weren't screening for that heart condition. We weren't
Mhm.
seeing cardiology or being followed by cardiology. So when I found out, now we go, which is really good because
Yes.
Emma actually had a incident this year where she passed out at school. And at the same moment she passed out, she said she felt her heart drop in her chest and she felt like
Right.
it stopped beating. So we were already established with cardiology. So I was able to get her in really quickly. And, we did a monitor um, for 72 hours and we got the results, everything, and God looked normal.
Good,
Um,
good.
but the good thing is that's on record. So if it happens again, we already have like a plan for that if it happens
That's
again. So
incredible. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't have been established if I didn't know. So I really am thankful for this research because this year there's been quite a few things that have
Yeah.
affected us differently in previous years. So yeah.
That's amazing. I know like a couple years back, there was a lot of people sharing about just like different holes in the heart or other cardio things and
Mhm.
wondering if there was a relation. So being able to know you went to one of the conferences and then this, that's amazing that it's just like as an adult with BWS that like I knew when I was born with it, but like trying to help with all the research and same with you, like
Right.
seeing these changes happen in protocol is like amazing. So I'm just like getting goosebumps here. So I'm really glad that like that you have that for your kids and yeah, and to relate, which it's not the same because her stuff was fine for this heart monitor in high school when I was 17. I was passing out, and they found
Um,
that like something at night, like so it was fine when I was active and everything, but it was like when I was sleeping with the monitor at night, they found that there was a lot of issues there. So I ended
oh,
up getting a pacemaker, but that was because of that. So I'm so glad to hear
oh
that.
wow.
Everything is
Yeah.
like awesome for her. But it's
Yeah.
like, you just never know. And so I'm so happy that to hear about that research. And I only share my stories to relate and also so other people can see like all like from,
The
I don't know.
differences.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, and so now I would love to hear, I mean, I can already tell that you're such a big advocate. You've got your own BWS Never Alone page. You're like so there on like the breaking ground research with your kids. Tell us a little bit more about like your experience advocating or even like helping your kids advocate for themselves. So,
Yeah. Um, my daughter Ruby, she has more like typical signs of BWS. And like I said, they're a little more on the mild side. Emma, however, has some things that are very loosely linked to BWS, if not like linked to something totally different. And so I've had to really advocate a lot for um, her, just trying to figure out like what exactly is going on. It there's definitely signs that there's something more.
right.
So we're trying to kind of get to the bottom of that. It's been really difficult. We were already followed by neurology and developmental neurology as well. Um, Developmental neurology sent us to Brain Institute in Miami, part of Nicholas Hospital. Um, so not just for like behavioral concerns, but also some developmental delays and things like this. But she also has a tremor that they haven't been able to determine like the cause of. And it was almost like night and day. She had no tremor. And then like around February, about, let's see, 2 years ago now, it started.
Yeah.
And it was like overnight, no tremor to like tremor. So,
Mhm.
and then the more tired she gets, the more pronounced it gets. So I've had to try to work with her doctors and, ask the questions like, is this medication or supplement that she's on? Could this be the cause? And trying
Right.
to, have, the cardiologist and the geneticist talk together to work
Mhm.
together to figure out. what the reasoning could be, and eventually ultimately led to this referral to the Brain Institute. So that's where we are at now. We did some testing back last February. We still don't have results of that testing.
Mhm.
So I've kind of had to be like the go-between person. And
Yes.
I'm supposed to be getting results April 17th.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
yeah, so for all of it. So hopefully that's the case. But yeah, it's been definitely trying at times going between like
Yes.
insurance, one doctor's office, next doctor's office, trying to get everyone on the same page and making sure that we're just doing the best we can for our daughters, you know? Um,
And you
so
really are. You really are. You're doing so much. It's like it's so hard to like it's like a second job, I feel like, being that liaison and doing all the management of the all of that, the insurance, the different specialists, even office staff, everything. So
right.
that is incredible what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it's a little frustrating, and I just have to take a deep breath. And I know a lot of people say that to take one day at a time. It's true because if you start looking at the whole timeline and how slow their progress can be, sometimes it's really frustrating. But one thing I did learn really pretty early on with my experience with Emma, because she was in PT and OT and feeding therapy, um, is that if you keep putting in the work,
Yes.
and
Yes.
eventually you will reach a point where there's like almost like you feel like they just turn a corner. And it's like
Yes.
all of a sudden there's strides that are made, and those goals get met. And it seems like really to me, it seemed like really slow,
And it can
small
feel
achievements.
grueling.
Yeah, and you're
Yes.
like, when
Yes.
is it gonna happen? It's like you've been in therapy for 6 months, we haven't met a single goal, and then all of a sudden, at 7 months and one day, 50% of the goals are met in the same day. And you're like,
Yep.
what is happening? So
Ah.
I learned really early on that, some things just take a little bit more time, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be our timeline. It doesn't have to be, I really do feel like, there's a purpose for you being where you are. I definitely think that, um, there's a reason that you're there. I do believe that God has a purpose for the things that you're going through, and that your child is facing as well, because it becomes part of their story too. So, yeah.
That's very comforting. And then, what is another piece of advice that has really made a difference for you? I know that's a big one, but if there's another piece of advice that you would think others might need to hear.
Ooh, um, it's funny because I get asked this question every year, and I know, I have so many answers, and I never know which one to really go with.
You can
Um,
do more than just one if you'd
I,
like.
I will say, like, trust your gut when something's wrong. Keep following until the answer feels right to you. Um, I would also say, that it's okay to not have all the answers right away.
Yeah.
We're not um, stuck to like a limited time to, do life together. You know what I mean? Like we
Right.
we have I don't know how to explain, but one day at a time. I've heard other people say that definitely resonates for me, because if you try to think too far in the future, you can get overwhelmed and definitely anxious about the what ifs. And going down those roads, it never really seems healthy.
Right.
So I would
Yeah.
say to try to just focus on what today is, and um,
Kind of living in the
I
present moment
yeah.
more.
Yeah, living
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
present and just really trying to think of the positive. Like when you start to think of like negative things that are going on, like what positive thing can you say about it? So like I learned this, about doing laundry. Like, what's a positive thing about doing laundry? Well, I have clothes for my family. I have water to wash them with. I have soap to wash them with. I have the money and the means to provide those things for my family. I have a family to do laundry for. Like, the
Yeah.
positive things about it. I have electricity in my house to be able to use these things. Like it's, you could, there's five six positive things for one negative thing that you could say. So I think trying to shift your brain to the positive makes a big difference too.
Yes.
Your child is
Yeah.
here, you know.
Practicing that gratitude, it really helps. There is research behind it that helps to boost mood, relieve anxiety and stress.
Hmm.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And honestly,
Yeah.
that's I've never thought about laundry in that way before. So now I'm like, I'm going to be thinking of those things now. So that's going to be helpful for my own self. So thank you.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Well, that just kind of going back to like, my faith and everything. Um, I would say that, my faith has really helped me in the darkest of times when we were facing uncertainty and, not sure about the future and things like just knowing that like he does hold our future. And that's kind of why I created BWS Never Alone because it's easy when you're in those moments to feel alone, but you never are. So that's kind of why I created it. It's just to provide hope and encouragement to someone going through a hard time during diagnosis or even after with the other things that might come up. So that's what it's there for. If you guys ever have anything you want me to add, please message me, and I'm more than willing to share other people's stories on there as well, or other people's words of encouragement. If you just message me, let me know. So there's that. It's not just about me and my stories and my
Oh,
experiences.
yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's there for all of us. So
That's
yeah,
wonderful. So, yes,
yeah,
everyone go check out her page, BWS Never Alone. You can message and share your own story, your child's story, if you would like to, with her as well. Crystal, I just want to say thank you so much for your time.
thank you.
I've learned so much from you in this session, and it was only like 25 minutes. So, oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you for your
Yeah,
knowledge and willingness to just share. So, thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
I appreciate it. Have a great day, guys.
Bye.